All right, let's see how many folks we got. We have about 65 people signed up, but sometimes those signups are aspirational. So we will see.
Or
We will see,
inspirational.
yeah, aspirational, inspirational. So we will see. And we've got a full agenda
Hello.
for you. Whoops.
Hi, Marilyn.
Hi, Marilyn. Yep.
Are you at
Marilyn.
home? Are you at home, Marilyn?
No,
Not
no,
yet.
I'm
Okay.
not.
But you'll be there soon.
Okay,
I
everybody.
hope so.
I hope so too.
I think we'll go
A
ahead
big
and how many?
agenda.
Yeah, how many folks do we have now? Can you see, Nina?
25, counting
25.
everybody.
Oh, wow. All right, gang. That's all right. Wait just
Oh,
another
boy.
minute. Is anybody else coming into the meeting in the waiting room?
No.
Yeah.
Let's ask people to mute themselves if they're not speaking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, folks. Well, why don't we kick it off? Thanks a million for being here with us, and maybe we'll have more of our folks join in, but that's fine. And the meeting's going to be recorded, and people will have it later. So, welcome, welcome. There is a chat window down there. You can be putting questions in as we go. You probably already know that. I'm just going to do a little housekeeping here, but we have a full agenda, and you can just sort of see, we kind of put this out on the email, what we're going to be talking about today. First piece of housekeeping I want to review is that our book club is still reading away, and this is our next book, which is going to be a really interesting read. Rachel Bitecofer is the new kind of voice from the Democrats, where she is, saying, "Hey, it's time to take back the messaging, and stop talking nicely and politely."
Here, here.
So yeah, so I think this is a great book. She is also working on the Biden campaign, which is a good thing to know. So we have an in-person discussion coming up on that, and you'll see more info on that in the newsletter. A couple of events to mark your calendars for. Our next membership meeting will be April 20th. And our speaker is going to be Melanie Galloway. She is the Pennsylvania state director at VoProPros. And VoProPros is a premier voter protection grassroots volunteer-led group, and they are awesome. They're a real powerhouse. I know there's a project they're working on right now to contact inactive voters in Pennsylvania, and they've got 50 people on that working to contact those voters. I saw like one of our members on there working, and I'm on there too. So we've invited Melanie to come and talk at our next meeting about voter protection, which is a real issue this cycle, as you know. And then April 21st is our next writing event, and the writing team will talk more about that. And let me have also little boxes moving around. Hopefully that's on my screen. Let me make sure I didn't. Yeah, okay, cool. Don't usually ask you about money for donations with IM, but I do want to bring this up. Now, not to be confused at all with our Giving Circle work. That is completely different, but I do want to say National Indivisible is running a dollar-to-dollar match on donations for the months of April and May, up to $500. And if you can spare a little extra, send us some love. It would be nice. That will keep the lights on at Indivisible. And also, importantly, we are going to be doing a lot of writing this cycle, as you know, and we're asking people to shell out money every time they write for us. So if there's anybody out there that is, this is getting a little bit of a pinchy thing for them, we want to be able to support them. So if you don't want to write, or you can't write, or you are going to write, but you also have a few extra bucks laying around, feel free to send that along, and we can help other people write who may not, have that resource at hand.
Dee, can
So
you drop
thanks.
that link in the chat, please? I can't
Yeah.
get it off the slide.
I'll do that later. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, we'll do.
Thanks
It's
for
right
asking,
on
Rose.
Yeah, and it's right on our website, actually. It's on our Indivisible website. It's about halfway down, but we will put that in the chat. Absolutely.
So Dee, can you clarify that a donation to Indivisible Montgomery will be eligible for this dollar-to-dollar match from National Indivisible?
Correct.
Oh, okay, great.
I think that is everything I have. So without further ado, let me stop sharing, and I'd like to turn the next agenda item over to Fern Hunt, who's going to talk to us about the Giving
Well,
Circle and what's going on.
First, I'll unmute, and then you'll see me briefly and before I share screen. I think this is the right thing. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Let me start with the first slide. This is the Indivisible Montgomery Giving Circle. This is a project of Indivisible Montgomery. We have partners. We're in partnership with Indivisible Howard County, Do the Most Good, and Gaithersburg Huddle. And this project is part of the state's project, which is funding state legislative races. And so this is rather different than what Dee just talked about. So I just want to also underline clarity about that. Today, I'm going to give you an update on what's happened since the last time I gave the update in February. And we also have two announcements. Okay, I have the wrong view here. So let me just see if I can adjust. You can see the entire slide, I hope.
Yep, it's perfect. Enthusiasm
Okay.
for IMGC.
All right, okay, well, enthusiasm for the Giving Circle has increased since our last meeting. Just to give you a reminder, at our launch in January, we announced a fundraising goal for $10,000 that we would raise until November of this year. And in January, we had 16 donors with $3,200. In February, notably, we partnered with the three organizations, excuse me, and formed a Maryland-based coalition. And in March, we received $5,475 of the match that this state's project initiated. And now, as of today, or as the last time I looked, we now have 64 donors, and we have raised more than our fundraising goal. We have raised $18,045. That's 180% of our original goal. And so we are really thrilled by that. But there's more good news. Alongside our fundraising efforts, we also, of course, initiated a state selection process. In other words, what happens to the money? The money will go to a selected state. And this month was essentially the month that we performed that. The selected state, as you remember, is going to receive all of the money raised so far and any future funds that we're able to raise. The state's project selected 7 swing states and in 3 video programs presented an in-depth analysis of these states. These reports were prepared by staff coordinators. And I really have to say I was very impressed by the quality of these coordinators. And they were working on the ground with candidates, prospective candidates, and the state caucuses, which essentially coordinate the state legislative races. These races are going to be taking place in selected districts in swing states. Now, the I Am Giving Leadership Group selected 3 of these states using some of the research used by States Project and additional research. The 3 states in question were Arizona, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. The selected states was
Fern, we lost your audio.
You mute yourself?
No, she doesn't look muted.
was essentially determined
There we
by
go.
audio.
Yeah, we can hear you again.
Fern, do you want somebody else to go through the slides?
Um,
You
Yeah.
okay? There you go. Oh,
am I
yay.
back?
Yeah, you are. Yes.
All right. Well,
I know you were
anyways,
building up the drama.
the punchline was taken away. In any case, we had a great meeting on the 21st. I will tell you that. The voting began on the 21st and it ended 29th. I would like to thank Dee Clarton, Martin Trocchi, and Nina Liakos for setting up that meeting.
Don't
Yeah,
forget Susan.
and don't forget Susan, who did the poll.
Right.
I was going to say that. Dee Clark and Susan Zengerle set up the Google poll and tally. So I want to thank them. In any case, what's next? Well, our second announcement is that our Give Circle has a new fundraising goal of $30,000, which is really mind-boggling, given our discussions in December. But if we're going to achieve this goal, we're going to need 2 things. First, if you haven't given, we would like you to please consider doing so. If you have, we are going to be reaching out to you as part of an Enlarging Our Circle initiative. Donors, we're going to ask you to turn to your colleagues and friends, others that you know, and encourage them to become donors. We, along with the States Project, will support you with how to, what your the steps involved in encouraging and approaching others, what kind of wording and support. And we have found that the States Project organization has been very generous in sharing with us various kinds of resources to also aid in this effort. So in any case, I want to thank you for your attention to this update, and I want to list and thank the members of the Indivisible Montgomery Giving Circle leadership, Dee Clark, Nina Liakos, Martin Trocchi, Susan Zengerle, and below you will see, courtesy of Nina, a URL, a new tiny URL to that you can access, please, to donate to more than just simply a donation cause, but it's really part of really a great struggle against the forces of autocracy and to restore and build democracy in our great country. So thank you very much for your attention again. And I guess we can take a couple of questions. Do we still have time, Dee?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, maybe I'll stop sharing.
Any questions on the Giving Circle update, guys? We are so excited about this, and thanks to all of everybody who's donated and making great progress. Of course, we have our Democratic governor in Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, and we've got the House. We just need to flip that Senate and a beautiful blue trifecta on our northern border.
Yes, I do want to maybe make an additional comment, which is at the meeting on the 21st, which I said was a very, very good, very searching discussion. Because all of the states, frankly, were worthy of being chosen. It was thought that Michigan would be the easiest lift in terms of achieving goals there. Arizona would be perhaps the most difficult in terms of seats to flip. And Pennsylvania, which is not the easiest, was kind of in the middle. It has 3 Senate seats that are up for election and 1 House seat. And in order for the state Pennsylvania legislature, which has made enormous progress in the progressive direction since 2022, having failed in 2020, I might add. They now, in order to be able to have, I believe, a trifecta, will need to have a total of 4 seats, 1 House seat and 3 Senate seats, and it's nearby. So I think that is an argument for us concentrating our dollars on Pennsylvania.
Add here that there was no wrong choice in this choice. All of the 8 states being targeted by the states project are needy and deserving. And, we chose our neighbor, but if you wanted somebody else, rest assured that there are other giving circles that will be choosing those states. Everybody's going to get help.
Any other questions? I can't see hands raised, so I'll have to,
Okay.
I don't think I see any hand. Oh, yeah, Roger, go ahead.
How many giving circles are there out there?
That's a good
Oh,
question.
gosh, that's a good question. Darn, I don't know, a lot.
Fern,
But
do you know?
Yeah, we can find out though.
I'll try to look into that and see. I think that there are probably at least 30. That's for sure. When I looked at the
Oh, I think
page,
it's more than that, Fern.
I think it's more than that.
yeah, at least 30. I didn't say that,
Yeah, maybe associated with an Indivisible chapter. There are.
No. There were actually very, very few
Okay.
associated with an individual chapter.
But if you think about the amount of money that the States Project pumped into Virginia last year, which now the total number escapes my mind, but maybe one of our, nerds, 4 million, right? And and that was the largest amount of money from a national group.
Yeah.
Right. And so that money represented giving circles, came from giving circles and other sources that the States Project has, but it's giving circles. And they published on their impact report a list of all the giving circles at the last page of their impact report. And it was a long list. I can see it in my mind, but I, didn't count it at the time. But that's an interesting question. Barbara. Go ahead, Roger. Follow up.
So they made use of the multiplier effect of, combining giving circles and focusing. Yes. Is there going to be any attempt to contact other giving circles? And, there were 3 states that were identified, but, if there's multiple giving circles, maybe we can funnel those donations into our particular state that we chosen or the 2 other states so that we get the maximum benefit.
Well, all of our money will go to Pennsylvania. I mean, we're not going to split, but we could we could point people to, I think Arizona, which was one of the states that we were very concerned about and we considered, if you look at the number of giving circles out west, and in California, which of course, luckily, they do have issues, but they could help fund Arizona.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
I found a page on the statesproject.org that doesn't say how many giving circles, but says more than 10,000 people from all 50 states
Yeah.
have
And
belonged
if
to a
you
giving
look on
circle.
our Grapevine page, the page where you go to give, at the top where it says Indivisible Montgomery, at the top it says a States Project Giving Circle. If you click on that link, you'll see a listing of all the Grapevine, of all the giving circles. There
Oh,
are too
okay.
many. I was trying to count, but there are just too many. They're, their way, it just keeps saying show more, show more.
Mm.
But they do list which states they're giving to.
Ah,
So you can see the
Interesting.
variety of states, and there are many focused on the other two states that we are interested in. Back when we chose a state, some states only had a few that were giving, but they were in, like New Hampshire only had a few that people had chosen. But they had anticipated there would be more choosing that state. And it does look like there are more now that have chosen. Many people had chosen Arizona. As Dee said, a lot of those are in the western part of the country, of course. That's what you'd expect. But you can, anyway, it is interesting to look, and you could all look there if you want.
And what's interesting also is that it gives the number of members.
It does.
And
And you can see
They're
they vary
mostly
so much.
between 50 and 100.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Because a
I don't
lot of
see
these
any
are
that are-
social, a lot of these
Yeah.
are social groups. They're groups of friends. That's right.
Mhm. I think I saw
That's-
Barbara Lovett's hand up somewhere.
Yeah, basically what I said is been interest. I was looking on the Giving Circle website the other day, and they don't say the number, but it's got to be over 60. And the Giving Circles require a number of members. And I was looking at the targets, and there are a couple that have targets over 100,000. Some groups are doing better at meeting their targets than others.
Mhm.
Yes, Arizona has a lot. There are some that are splitting more than one state, but it's it's interesting to see the composition, the targets, and how successful the different groups have been. So anyway.
Okay,
that's it.
thanks. Thanks for checking that out. All right. Any last, probably good idea to move on with our agenda. We'll have, I hope we can build in some time for discussion at the end too. So Steve, I'd like to turn to you. You have 2 agenda items coming up, right? So, back to back, the messaging campaign and Field Team 6. Do you want to just do those one after another?
Sure.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Okay, good. Which one did you want me to do first, Dee? Did you care?
No, I don't care, but why don't you start with Amplify This?
Okay.
I'm interested in both of the
Yeah,
things,
no,
but
I'm glad to. Okay, first, let me say that I am on the steering committee of, I'm also on the executive committee of the Jaywalkers Action Group. So I wear 2 hats, as many of you do, or more hats. And so is Susan Zengerle, who, Susan, I hope you'll chime in here anytime. And we at Jaywalkers were sort of inspired by the talk that IM got a couple of months now from Jessica Craven, chop wood, carry water. Sometimes I say chop water, carry wood. That doesn't. She talked about the power of personal connections, not to oversimplify. And at Jaywalkers, we were thinking about that. And actually, it was Rachel Karen, I don't know if Rachel's here today, who came up with the suggestion that Jaywalkers start a program to use the power of all of our personal networks, our personal relationships, those among the 10,000 people on our mailing list, our email list. So we decided, after a lot of brainstorming, to start something we're calling Amplify This, which is essentially, we're going to send each week an email to everybody on our email list with a single message and supporting talking points and facts that you can use in conversations with anyone you know, on your social media, send out emails. We're going to ask you to reach out and talk, like the old AT&T commercial, reach out and talk. We want to inform people about key points, facts, events that are often ignored or downplayed by the mainstream media. The messages and talking points won't be from us. They're not going to be thought of and created by us. We're going to curate ideas and analysis from smart people like Simon Rosenberg, Dan Pfeiffer, Greg Sargent, Brian Beutler, Ron Brownstein, others. Choose the ones that we think will have the most resonance with undecided voters. And I'll talk about that in a second. And we're going to try to pick messages and facts that didn't get the attention in the mainstream media that they should have. So we're doing this because we think the mainstream media are failing us. I don't think we have to look any farther than NBC and Ronna Romney McDaniels. The media are trying to play both sides. Everything's got two equally valid sides. They're fixated on Biden's age. They hold him to a much higher standard than they do Trump. They tend to ignore Trump's. In fact, they do ignore every day. Trump says something outrageous, incoherent, garbles basic facts, but they cover him as though they ignore that. They don't cover it. They don't report it. Whereas if Biden did those things, oh, see, Biden's old. We got to worry about this. I mean, the data are clear. The Washington Post and the New York Times have published dozens and dozens and dozens of stories about Biden's age. It's Hillary's emails all over again. So I don't think I need to convince you of the problems with the media. But what we want is to get out to people who may not have heard it, information that we think is persuasive. There are a lot of people who aren't paying attention and don't know basic facts, like the woman I saw on TV a few weeks ago on a TV interview who said her biggest issue is protecting abortion rights, and that's why she likes Trump. You know, how do you explain that? There are just many what are called low information voters, although that's sort of a derogatory term, just people who aren't paying much attention. But there are also others who are more informed, and there are a lot of them who don't like either candidate. You know, they just don't like Trump and they don't like Biden. And that includes people across the political spectrum. You've got traditional Republicans. I mean, 20 to 30% voted in Republican primaries for Nikki Haley, which they knew was basically a protest vote against Trump. You've got independents, you've got the RFK curious people, you've still got hardcore Bernie bros. All of these people aren't ready to vote, at least not yet, for Biden. So that whole large group of people, the low information voters and the undecided, those are the people we want to reach. We all probably know some of them, whether at work or in our personal networks or on social media, on Facebook. So that's our target. We're not trying to change the minds of MAGA believers. That's not going to happen. It's the other people, the people who aren't sure. All the experts say that this election is going to turn on who is ultimately seen as the lesser of two evils by that group of people, by those people who are undecided. So we aren't going to get them to feel good about Biden. We aren't going to get them to be cheerleaders for him, but we need them to conclude that they should vote for him despite their reluctance. So, and the other key point, of course, is that the research shows that the most effective political messages are those that come from people we know and trust, not from the media, not from social media. So we want to harness the power of our personal connections and our networks. We're going to send out bite-sized message each week that you can copy and paste, put in emails, put in your social media, and points that you can use in conversations. We will ask you each week to forward that email to 3 people and to follow us on Facebook and on Threads through IM, and to share our posts on your social media. There'll be an introductory email announcing this, explaining it, coming soon. If you're not on the Jaywalkers mailing list now, I'll put the link in the chat, and we hope you'll participate. Any questions?
See a question from Jean.
Well, I wanted to raise the issue of Gaza. I think that we ought to talk about it for a minute, because I see it as sort of an elephant in the room regarding the coming elections. I felt sort of ashamed of myself back when I was so excited about Biden's doing so well at the State of the Union. You know, I was really jumping up and down at how good he was doing because of what's going on in Gaza. And you know, it's easy to sort of ignore it if you only watch the mainstream media. But if you look at the BBC, or you watch Amplify, or you watch Democracy Now, or Al Jazeera, I mean, it's really, 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 really horrific what's going on. You know, it's deliberate starvation, and you can, you know, check your favorite humanitarian group, Save the Children or International Rescue Committee. They're all saying the same thing. It's genocide and it's starvation, and you can see, you know, film of children whose ribs show that they're literally starving to death. And you know, I'm old enough that, you know, I've seen a lot of, you know, elections, and I've never had a Democratic president that I've completely agreed with, and I voted for some, you know, sort of holding my nose, and people that I thought were decent people. But I think it's going to cost. If it doesn't stop what's going on, it's going to cost Biden the election, because I think 20 and 30-year-olds are not, you know, they're not going to vote for Biden if this is still going on, and if they see what's going on, and they're outraged about it, as we all should be. So it just seems to me like, you know, given how you know, important efforts like ours are and ought to be to the Democratic Party, we ought to speak out if there's some way we can do so to try to push the administration to stop. I saw the young woman who resigned from the State Department a few days ago in an interview on Amanpour, and you know, she's really courageous, and it just reminds me over and over again about Vietnam, which I lived through, and I just think something needs to be done. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, hear you. I don't, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that fits with Amplify This. We all have reactions like yours, many of us like yours, to what's happening. The only thing I'll say, and I don't want to turn this into a discussion about what's happening in Gaza, because that's not the purpose of this meeting, although it's certainly a valid topic for discussion. The only thing I'll say is that while we may be unhappy and very unhappy with Biden's what Biden's doing, what the administration is doing, anyone who thinks it would be better under Trump is crazy. So I think the route for us is to push Biden to do better and be better. And
Yeah, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right, Steve, because we know that Trump would just turn everything over to Netanyahu in a half a second.
Yeah,
He's already said it. So
what Netanyahu has said and is doing to get Trump.
Yep.
So
but we do need to push Biden, you're right. And maybe we could find some messaging, you know, on that eventually once Amplify This gets up and running.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really eager to see that. And so people will be able to sign, you'll be able to send out a link to sign up for that if somebody is not on Jaywalker's mailing list yet, can you give it, like, should
Link
we?
is in the chat.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, sir. Okay.
Link is
Didn't
in the
even see.
chat. Just sign up and you'll get the
Beautiful. Okay, great. And we can send that out later too. Perfect. Steve, do you want to roll into your next item?
Okay, I'll talk very briefly about texting. As I've talked before, Field Team 6, which is a big grassroots group in California, has been running a texting program. They call it BYOP, Bring Your Own Phone, even though you don't use your phone. That's an old name. But it's a really good texting program now that's available right now to register likely Democrats in key districts and states. And the reason we're talking about it again, first, I want to again encourage you to sign up. But they've been making improvements to it. And if you've done it, you'll understand that there were some clunky aspects to it. So one improvement is that you no longer have to copy and paste the initial text message in OpenVPB, take that and paste it into your Chrome extension template. I know this may not mean anything to those of you who haven't done this, but trust me, it'll make it simpler and easier to text. Also, along the same lines, after you send a text, you're automatically taken back to the OpenVPB page to send your next text. You don't have to click on that OpenVPB tab. So those are two simplifications, streamlinings that will make it easier. And then finally, they are now offering or suggesting an alternative to Google Voice as your texting app. If for whatever reason you don't want to use Google Voice, you can use Text Free, which is a different app, somewhat similar to Google Voice. And there's a link in the Field Team 6 user guide on how to set it up and use it. Was that a question?
No.
No? Okay. And just be aware that if you are interested, just go to Field Team 6, look for their BYOP texting program, and go to their user guide. And at the top of their user guide, they post announcements of new developments, changes in the program, so to keep you up to date. And then the user guide has great instructions. They're really detailed. They walk you through how to get started. And the reason this is I think, is such a good tool right now is that they help you reach unregistered but likely Democratic voters based on their gender, race, their affiliations, subscriptions, things like that. And they give you lots of choices for the states that you want to text to. There are very few texting programs operating now before the primaries and before Labor Day, when things will really heat up. So it's a good opportunity now to reach unregistered voters. And it's fast and it's easy once you learn how to do it in about 40 minutes a day. That's what it takes. So if you have any questions, you can get in touch with me. My email, I'll put that in the chat when I'm done. Just let me know if you have questions. Thanks.
Yeah, if I can just chime in real quick, Steve, I love it. It's truly just one touch texting now. And I did 106 texts to Ohio voters last night in about a half an hour. So that was not bad at all. And there are very few replies needed to these
I was going to
texts.
say that, Dee.
Yeah, do you want to take it from here? Go ahead, Steve.
Well, no, I was just going to say that unlike other texting programs I've done, it doesn't ask any questions.
Right.
It gives information and a link to register in that state. So you don't get replies. You might get, if you send 100 texts, you might get 2 replies that say, stop, and you click a button to opt
Right.
them out, and you're done. You
Right.
don't get into almost any conversations.
Yeah, no need for like a hierarchy, a menu of answers and stuff, unlike some of the other. So it's just real painless, and I love it. I think it's great. Field Team 6 is absolutely awesome group. So, okay, we have a number of questions. I see RB Stone. My apologies. I don't know what your first name is, RB Stone.
Well, it's Roger, so I'm Roger.
Roger.
Stone, but I'm definitively not that Roger Stone.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm glad to hear that because
you need to go by RB or something like that.
RB.
Right. Well, when I've spoken publicly, I've had to say, for those of you who may be politically minded, no, I'm not that Roger Stone.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, but anyway, my question is about texting. 4 years ago, I sent out thousands of texts. There was a lot of back and forth, which you say is now no longer the case. And
For this program.
On this
For this,
program, right?
Yeah.
Right. A lot of back and forth. I occasionally found myself getting in trouble with the moderators because I would respond too strongly to one of the back and forths and things like that. But that's not my question. My question is, what are the statistics of the effectiveness of texting? Because all of us receive 100 texts a day, political texts a day, and I don't know about you, but I delete every single one of them without reading it. So, and I care. So, the question is, what is the effectiveness of that versus the letter writing campaigns and things like that? Where are our hours to do this best spent? And it may be both, but I'm interested to know what the effectiveness is of the texting, because it doesn't work on me.
Yeah, that's
a texter.
That's a good question. I don't have hard data. There is anecdotal data out there. A little bit of research has been done, and the general consensus seems to be that the most effective thing people can do in volunteering for a candidate or a campaign is talk face-to-face to people, whether it's, as we were talking about before, through a program like Amplify This, where you reach out to your personal contacts, or you go out and door knock, which I've done and many of us have done frequently. That's still seen even today as the most effective tool. Second, generally, is phone banking. You're talking to somebody directly if they answer the phone. And third, I think, is texting, because of the volume. You can send so many texts so quickly. Not yet. As Dee was saying, we send about 100 a day now because of the limits of Google Voice. But once the campaigns get rolling, there will be many texting programs available that will allow you to send, as many of us have done, thousands of texts in a day. And so the volume, even if 98% of the people don't look at it, 2% do. And you have to remember, you,
3%,
me, and I, and probably everybody on this Zoom, we get lots of those emails because we're active, we're involved, we're on everybody's list, we get all that. That's not the audience for these texts. Right. The people who get these texts, they're not on all these mailing lists. They're on some probably, but they're not the same people. And
I was just going to say that.
All they've got to do.
Okay, that's an excellent point. Thank you for that one.
All they've got to do is see the keyword register to vote. And if you get a couple of people, that's a win.
Thanks.
Okay.
That's a good question. Thanks. And Steve, I'm looking at the time, and I know we have 2 other questions, but we need to move on with the agenda. Anyway, the 2 other questions could wait till the end. So Barb and Mike, is that okay? Okay. Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right, great, Steve. We're going to come back to you in a minute. So we need to roll on to our next agenda item, and I think I'm turning that over to Leslie, right? Leslie, Judy, and Nina are going to present our next writing campaigns, and super excited to see that. So go ahead, guys.
Yeah, I think this is Leslie. I'm pretty sure I'm up first. So let me share my screen. Oops, already I've got an oops, not a good sign. So we're going to be talking about the letter writing campaigns plural, that Indivisible is going to be running this election season. And I'm so sorry about this.
Maybe somebody else has
I've got it.
or-
I've got
Oh,
it.
Perfect.
And it's sitting below a bunch of other stuff. All right. So we need to get to the,
Just hit slideshow. They're up at the right.
yeah, it's underneath all the people again. I have this running problem. You all look great up there, but all right, here we go. So Dee actually had this up at the beginning of the call. So the letter writing campaign that we ran about 4 years ago was called Do the Right Thing. And so we're not messing with a good thing. We're keeping the same title. And actually, we're pretty excited about the changes that we've made this time compared to previous years. We were going to have a couple of different campaigns that address a couple of different issues and kinds of voters. And I think it's going to make for some really nice combinations. And I hope we all agree. So what are these two letter writing campaigns that we're going to be doing? We're going to be writing for two different organizations this time. Vote Forward is the one many of us have written Vote Forward letters before. And Vote Forward letters encourage low propensity or unregistered voters to vote, basically. There are twists on that theme, but that's the basic idea. The second organization is new for us this time, and it's called Vote Riders, RIDERS. And oh, crumb, it's not right. Somebody help me out. Dee?
Yeah, so Vote Riders, it's just a typo. That's okay, Leslie. No
Yeah,
big
I
deal.
know, but
Vote Riders is part of a voter protection effort that is put together by Vote Riders, and they are contacting voters in voter ID states. Now, you may not be aware of it, living in beautiful blue Maryland, but in 38 states in the United States, the Republicans have been working assiduously to enact restrictive voter ID laws, which suck. And so we all know why they're doing it. So Vote Riders the whole purpose is to contact voters in these states and say, hey, you need to, heads up, you need an ID now. Something has changed. Pay attention.
Right. So Vote Forward, and I'm sorry for the typo, Vote Forward encourages low propensity unregistered voters to vote. Vote Riders actually addresses voter suppression. When you write letters, you can choose to write to one or to both of them. Neither of these organizations endorses candidates or parties. It's about encouraging voters or tackling voter suppression. No matter what you choose, you are helping to increase voter turnout for Democrats and others we expect to vote for Democratic candidates. Because as Dee just said, places where they're trying to suppress the vote, we know who they're trying to suppress. So the two organizations vary on a number of levels here, so I'll walk through this quickly. Mission or purpose of Vote Forward, as I said, is voter turnout for those folks. Vote Forward has political campaigns, which increase turnout for low propensity, likely Democrat voters, and social campaigns, which increases turnout for low propensity under 35 voters. Vote Riders addresses voter suppression. This is just going to have to move. I'm going to have to hide you guys. Okay. It fights voter suppression. It informs voters of laws in their states that suppress voting. And it aims at people whose right to vote may be threatened by those kinds of recent changes that Dee was just talking about. Your choice of states and what states they address can vary from Vote Forward and to Vote Riders, but not necessarily. Vote Forward gives you a choice of states to choose from. If you are going to get your letters and get your materials from Vote Forward yourself, you'll have the option also of getting your materials from Indivisible Montgomery, in which case, at least at first, you'll get a letter for North Carolina. Vote Riders will provide the state, and that's going to be North Carolina for us now. These states or campaigns may change over time for any of 1,000 reasons. So in Vote Forward, IM may choose and recommend states or campaigns in the future, different ones. And IM may change the state we write vote writers letters to in the future. What you write is different for the two. Vote Forward basically gives you an opening stem that says, I vote because, and then you provide in your own words the reason that you vote, that you hope will inspire the reader to vote. And Vote Writers provides a script that you follow, along with a lot of pre-printed information about voter ID laws in that state. Vote Forward likes to get its mail out in a clump. So Vote Forward letters this year will go out between October 1st and October 29th, which is different from before. If you've done this before, you knew there was one date at which they all hit the post offices. This year, sometime between October 1st and 29th, when you mail the letters or when we mail them for you. And when to mail your things that you write for Vote Writers is as soon as you finish them, get them out. So let's see how this looks. And I think, I don't know. All right, I think Nina's up at this point, right?
Yes, I think there's a slide before that one, which is
There you
a
go.
sample Vote
There you
Forward
go.
letter. Yes. Okay, so most of us, or many of us, have written to Vote Forward before. So you kind of know what it looks like. It starts with your message, which is written by hand. I always said something about how one vote could make the difference in the outcome in a tight race, or something like, I vote because I believe that democracy works better when we all participate, or something like that. But it's, it's up to you what you write, except it can't be partisan. With Vote Forward, what we're trying to do is motivate people that might not go to the polls to vote, or that are unregistered to register. And those people are likely Democratic voters, as defined by some algorithm that we don't know.
Next slide.
Mhm.
Nina? Okay, I think we lost Nina. Can somebody pick
Okay,
up?
so am I still audible?
Yep, yep, yes,
So
ma'am.
Nina, are you here?
No,
Can you move the slide?
I did.
she
I'm
did.
not Vote Writers.
Okay, all right, I see it now. Oh, it says my internet connection is unstable. Be ready to jump in. Okay, Vote Writers gives you, I think, just about one sentence to go at the top. So it's going to be quicker to write Vote Writers letters. And most of it is pre-printed information on how to vote without being repressed. Okay, so the purpose of the letter, it's a little bit more like Reclaim Our Vote. You're giving people that might have difficulty voting for it any reason, but specifically the ID laws. It gives information how to get around those laws. And they give it in 3 different ways. There's a website, there's a QR code, and there's a telephone number for people that do not have access to the internet. Okay, next slide. And the process will be that you will sign up. We are going to provide the link to the sign up form in the weekly newsletter. So if you lose it, you can find it again every week. You write your letters. You have options here. We're going to have a monthly letter writing in-person event, letter writing events on Zoom. You can write on your own without any other people around, or some combination And once you have written, you will report back on the sign up form, the same one. You'll go back to the same one. And that link will be provided every week. How many letters you've written and what kind of letters you've written. Was it for Vote Forward or Vote Riders? Which state were you writing for? And if Vote Forward, social or political campaign. Okay, and I will pass the torch to Judy.
Hi, this is going to confuse you. Who's speaking now? Okay, so I am support for the letter writers. You can see here, the three of us are going to be your supporters. And these are our contact information. There will also be monthly Zoom letter writing events on Sunday afternoons at 2 o'clock. And the first event's going to be on April 21st. And weekly Zoom office hours will be held on Wednesdays from 7 to 8. That's going to start on April 17th. So if you have any problems, that we can help you. And then we also will be there as an unneeded support in the person of Nina. And so if you need email support, if you need any kind of support, you can email Nina and she will be there for you. So
Judy,
lots
can
of
I
support.
just jump in there
Sure.
and say the preference is that you attend the office hours if you can, but some people are not available on Wednesdays at 7. So for those people, please contact me directly. We're not encouraging everybody that has a question every time to email me. Thank you very much.
Okay. So, getting letters, mailing letters, and other practical matters. So if you're going to write for Vote Forward, you register for Vote Forward and you download and print your letters. Lots of you have already done this and you're familiar with it. So you're basically going to do this on your computer. You choose a state and the type of campaign, social or political. You write your letters and address and stamp the envelopes. And then you hold on to those letters until the big send, which is now from the, what is
October 1 to October 29.
Okay, so the whole of October, basically to the 29th. And as you complete the letters, as in the past, you update your Vote Forward dashboard. So you'll have that dashboard from the beginning when you sign up for Vote Forward to do this. And again, if you need support regarding printing, stamps, or acquiring envelopes, contact one of the Three Musketeers, and we will find a way to get them to you.
So Judy, this is Leslie. May I just jump in for a second?
Yeah.
There's something that might not be really clear. So option B, if you are going to be asking for letters, for example, you will not go through the list of steps under A. We will give you the letters. You'll give them back to us. We will do all the contact with Vote Forward, getting the voters and logging
Right.
them up. So that's actually two very distinct options.
Okay, so if you're going to write for Vote Riders, again, I am going to provide the printed letters and envelopes. We ask you provide the stamps. But if you need support to get stamps, again, contact one of the three of us. And we can provide the stamps at an in-person event, or we'll arrange to meet you. So nothing will stand in the way of this happening. So here you go. You can sign up here. And this will be in the chat, the URL. And also, if you want to access this presentation again, you can go to the second link here. And I think these will both be in the chat. Am I correct?
We can put them in the chat. Yeah,
Okay.
I want to just clarify that DTWT stands for Do the Right Thing.
Which will
So
help.
you can remember these more easily, tiny URLs.
That's great, guys. Thank you so much. We got like 2 minutes for any questions on the writing campaign. So it might be a lot of information there, but we're here to help. Main thing is we want you to keep writing. You're not done. You won't be done all year. We need you. Stunned silence. Okay. All right. Okay. Roger, unmute yourself.
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay, so how do we
Oh,
get
Roger.
letters for vote riders? Do we talk to you guys and meet you somewhere?
Yeah, we will provide the supplies for vote riders because it's a complicated issue. You can sign up, you have to find their platform, and we've just done that and we've talked to them and we've gotten like 500 addresses in bulk. So we're ready to roll, So we basically want you to use the form. Just say, hey, I'm interested. There's a part of the form that says I want to write for vote riders. I want like 1 packet, 2 packets, your address, and then we'll reach out and figure it out.
Okay, and you're ready to roll with that now?
I am waiting anxiously for John Heinz to give me my supplies, and he
so we'll just keep an eye on the
very
newsletter.
generously said he would do the printing for us. So I'm waiting.
I assume
But
it'll be
soon.
in the newsletters when you're ready to roll and
Oh,
we
yeah.
can jump in if we want to.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara. Quick question. No.
So this will all show up in the newsletter.
Yep.
Again and
Okay.
again and again.
Okay,
And
Barbara's saying something, I think, guys. Hold on.
Okay, so just to address the issue of results that was asked, I was persuaded to start texting the field team 6 when at the IM presentation we're told that the success rate is 6%. They text converted to voters. And with respect to Vote Forward, I attended their results meeting. And the success rate is 1% or less of the campaign. But
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're kind of breaking up, Barbara.
You talk a little louder. Can you hear me?
Maybe you're breaking up. Sorry.
I'm in a car. Can you hear me better? Can you hear me?
It's difficult.
Yeah,
Okay,
kind of difficult.
I'm in a
Something
car.
about the success rate. Why don't we chat?
Okay.
Text was 6%.
Yes.
That's what she said.
And
6%
Right,
success rate.
Okay.
right, letter writing is under 1%. Can you hear me better or no?
a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, and
Okay.
the first time I raised my hand, it was about the field team 6 texting, especially since we've adopted Pennsylvania as our giving circle. They
Yep.
currently have 3 Pennsylvania campaigns, and 2 of them are for state candidates.
Yes.
Their primary, I think, is the April 9th. So these texting campaigns, these 2 state level people go
Yep.
through the 8th. So I'm putting my efforts into the state level people.
That's right.
And it's, as Steve said, it's gotten much easier, but you can text through Google Voice for free text, and both of them throttle you. So I actually toggle between the 2 when I get throttled by the first. So
Cool.
just wanted to share that. Anyway,
Cool.
that's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Awesome. Okay. The next item I want to turn is in our last item before any discussion time. I want to turn back to Steve. Again, thank you so much, sir, because we want to talk about Maryland.
Yeah, about the Maryland races coming up in the primary is May 14th. As you know, Indivisible Montgomery does not endorse candidates in Democratic primaries, so we're not doing that. But I just want to review what's going on. First, in the Senate, as you know, the seat is open because Ben Cardin is retiring. The Dems now have a 51-49 majority. 34 of the 100 seats are up for election in November. And of those 34, the Dems hold 20. The Republicans hold 11 and independents 3. So the Dems have to defend a lot more seats, which makes it difficult. In Maryland, the candidates are, as you know, the main candidates are Angela Alsobrooks and David Trone. There are others, but I don't think anyone gives them much of a shot. And the winner is going to face Larry Hogan, former governor, in November. Alsobrooks, real quickly, is the county executive, PG County, and former state's attorney there. She's been endorsed by a lot of big names. Chris Van Hollen, Raphael Warnock, Cory Booker, Patty Murray, a bunch of senators, Governor Wes Moore, Congressman Sarbanes, and Steny Hoyer.
Jamie Raskin.
Jamie Raskin.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. Brian Frosch, the former Attorney General, and the Comptroller Brooke Learman, and also Mark Elrick. But her most important endorsement just came this week, and that's Jamie Raskin. The polling that's out there now was done before Raskin's endorsement, and it's suspected that that will give her a big boost. Trone has been the congressman for 5 years. He is the co-owner of Total Wine and More, which is the largest private wine retailer in the country. So he's got a lot of money to self-fund his campaign. He's been endorsed by many of his House colleagues, including the leadership, Hakeem Jeffries, Pete Aguilar, and Catherine Clark. Also Adam Schiff, Brendan Boyle, Eric Swalwell, Mike Quigley, Ted Lieu, and others. Trone got a big endorsement recently from the National Teachers Union, the NEA, and the State Teachers Union. You may have heard Trone, there was a big news item last week. Trone had to apologize for using a racial slur, mistakenly, it seemed, but he did use it, and he apologized. But almost immediately thereafter, 5 of his House colleagues, all Black members of Congress, immediately endorsed Alsobrooks. I think it's fair to say that Alsobrooks is more of a progressive and Trone is more of a moderate, though the lines certainly can be blurry. So as for the state of the race, professionals, according to Maryland Matters, which is, by the way, a great website and a great follow on Twitter in terms of political activity in Maryland. They report that some professionals believe that the race is getting closer, though a Washington Post survey about 10 days ago showed Trone up by 7 points. One reason the race is probably wide open is that even though Trone has already spent somewhere between 23 and 34 million of his own dollars, which is unbelievable, while Alsobrooks has spent about 3 million. It's still the case that half of the Democratic voters who've been surveyed have no opinion of either candidate. So there's a lot of room for movement in either direction. As far as the general election against Hogan, there was a recent poll in the Post that found Hogan with a double-digit lead over both Trone and Alsobrooks. But it also found that Maryland voters prefer by 20 points that Democrats keep control of the Senate. So somehow those two have to be reconciled. For what it's worth, the Cook Political Report has the race as likely Democratic. I won't go into the issues or why Hogan's awful. Just keep in mind that just by running, Hogan is helping Trump. Every dollar that the Democrats have to spend defending the Senate seat in Maryland is one that they can't spend defending Sherrod Brown or John Tester or others. And Hogan knows this. That's why he was recruited by Mitch McConnell to run. Also, just one thing to keep in mind, registered Democratic voters outnumber registered Republicans in Maryland 2-1. So even though Democratic voters have liked Hogan as governor and often vote for Republican governors, it's happened in the past that they get Democrats to vote for them, Democrats who seem to think it shows they're open-minded. But even voters who liked Hogan as a governor may not want him when they realize and think about the fact that a vote for Hogan could tip the Senate to control by Republicans. I want to say a little about the Maryland 6 race. That's the congressional seat that was held by David Trone, is still, I guess, held by David Trone. It includes Western Maryland and parts of Montgomery County, including parts of Gaithersburg and Germantown. There are 16 Democrats running for Trone's old seat. According to the polls, which are limited, and endorsements and fundraising, the leading candidates are Joe Vogel, who's a state delegate, April McLean Delaney, a former Commerce Department official and the wife of former Congressman John Delaney, Takesha Martinez, who's the mayor of Hagerstown, Leslie Lopez, who's a state delegate from Gaithersburg, Germantown area.
District 39.
Right, and Lorianne Sales, who is not a heavily funded candidate, but who is a Montgomery County council member and a friend of Indivisible Montgomery. Vogel has been endorsed by Cory Booker, for whom he worked, several congressmen and state delegates, the Sierra Club, the Human Rights Campaign, and importantly, just last week, the National Teachers Union, the NEA, and the Maryland State Teachers Union. So Joe Vogel might be the front runner. McLean Delaney has been endorsed by Nancy Pelosi. Lopez has been endorsed by some other state senators and delegates, including the state majority leader, Nancy King. The Republican candidate will be a MAGA wingnut, either Neil Parrott or Dan Cox or Brenda Thiam. So it's a likely Democratic seat, according to Cook Political and Larry Sabato. And that is the only, according to Cook Political Report, that's the only competitive race in Maryland in November, as far as the congressional races. I want to say real quickly about the State Board of Elections, which not many people may be aware of. There's been some controversy because the Republicans have had a hard time filling their allotted posts on the Board of Elections statewide. And the reason is that they keep nominating people who turn out to be either indicted insurrectionists or flaming election deniers, embezzlers, or one person who rarely votes. Doesn't seem like a strong candidate for the Board of Elections. So their nominees have not been even passed on to the full Senate for review. Their latest nominee is a woman named Diane Butler, who is a homeschool teacher and unemployed actor. She has posted on social media that she thinks COVID-19 mask mandates are comparable to Nazi armbands.
Oh, Jesus.
She questioned absentee balloting, and she sort of advocated for a full forensic audit of the 2020 elections in Maryland. The bad news is she was just confirmed by the state Senate. So she will be on the Board of Elections.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Very distressing. But the Democrats do outnumber the Republicans because the Democrats control the governorship and the legislature. They also control the Board of Elections. 3-2, I think, the nominating panel, and also control the big panel. One final thing I want to say about the Board of Education here in Montgomery County. I know we all have a hard time knowing who to support in the Board of Education races because they're technically nonpartisan. It's hard to find out much about the candidates. Keep in mind, all board members are elected by the county as a whole. So you vote for every board member, even though they are listed by the district they live in. And they serve for 4 years. One candidate who will be up for nomination in the primary in May is Bethany Mandel. Some of you may have heard of her. She is a MAGA writer and commentator. She homeschools, she lives in Montgomery County. She homeschools her 6 children, but she wants to run the Montgomery County schools. She is the co-author of something called Stolen Youth, How Radicals Are Erasing Innocence and Indoctrinating a Generation. And she's the co-editor of a children's book series called Heroes of Liberty, which includes books on such heroes as Rush Limbaugh, Clarence Thomas, and Elon Musk. She is suing 6 Montgomery County Public Schools staff members who belong to a group called MCPS Staff Pride because the group blocked her on Twitter. She didn't like it, so she's suing them. She advocates for opening up public school extracurricular activities and sports to homeschooled and private school children. So just keep all that in mind when you vote for Board of Election candidates. There is if you're interested, there is a candidate forum coming up in a couple of weeks. It'll be a Zoom forum. I can provide that. We'll provide details in the IM newsletter. That's it.
Oh, Steve, thanks so much for that comprehensive review. That was a really good kind of landscape of everything where it is. I do want to just say real quick, the Apple ballot is out. So, if you just want to point neighbors to that, that will be helping. We have a couple of hands up. Suzanne, I think you were up first. District 19 voice here.
Right. So thank you, Steve, for addressing Maryland issues. I just want to remind everyone that the primary is May 14th in Maryland, and make sure that you have your, I always do a mail-in ballot to make sure I can get it done in time, but just make sure that if you've gotten an invitation to do a mail-in ballot, that you fill it out. You can do it online, actually. It's really easy. I am concerned about the Senate race. I'm quite concerned about it. I live in a purple part of Montgomery County. It is my precinct. It is my district, and we are blue in Silver Spring and purple up where I live. So it's really important that as many people as possible, as many Democrats as possible, are urged to vote. What Indivisible Montgomery does is fantastic. I will try to do as much as I can to support Indivisible Montgomery's efforts, but I also want people to make sure that your polling place has somebody to stand there and hand out sample ballots. We have so many empty precincts. So every district needs to have Democratic polling representatives. It's a small commitment. It's almost,
Right.
A one-day commitment. So at most a week. So make sure you get on MCDCC and register to help volunteer to be at the polls during this election season.
Suzanne, how can people sign up to work to hand out ballots at I thought, is there like a link or
Yeah, you can do it through MCDCC.
if not, if people don't know what that means, can
That's
you?
Montgomery County Democratic Central Committee. If you need help with that, I'll put my phone and email in the chat.
Perfect. It is an easy
Suzanne?
fun job, so.
Suzanne, if we sign up and they already have people at our precinct, do they assume that we would go to another precinct?
No, you don't have to go to another precinct. So you don't want to have a precinct where somebody is required to be there the entire day, right?
Right.
To cover that polling location. So we try to have like 3-hour shifts so that people aren't overly burdened. So even if you're not a precinct official, you're a volunteer to hand out the information and just to be a democratic face at the polls.
Thank you.
And guys, remember, I'm sure you probably, most of the people on this call would know, but remember that there are no electronic devices allowed in the poll, inside the polling. So when that harried mom or young person rushes up right from work, they're trying to vote, they're disorganized, maybe they have a bunch of papers in their bag. If you were there to hand that Democratic ballot out to that person, you're really doing a good service of, I think, for humanity at this level. But, I mean, that's a huge, huge thing. Jean.
I share the concern about the Senate race, and I think we should be hopeful and optimistic. But we should not forget what a appealing and good politician Hogan is, and he won twice in a state where Democrats are twice as many as Republicans, and I think it's going to be one of the most important races in the general election coming up. And I don't know what we can do. I don't exactly know how we work, but if
whoever comes. Go ahead. Sorry, Jen, go ahead.
Ways we can make this a priority, we ought to do so, I think.
Whoever emerges from the primary, we will work as hard as we can for that person. And also, don't forget, Hogan has, this popular image of Hogan can be chipped away at. There's been a number of recent articles about Hogan, including the reminder that he voted against expanding abortion access in Maryland in 2022. And when his veto was overridden by the General Assembly, he simply withheld funds from his own office to ensure that that expansion could not happen. And that was one of the first actions that Wes Moore took, was to release those funds when he got into office. And as you all know, what a hot ticket item reproductive freedom is now, and that drum needs to be beaten over and over again, because Larry Hogan also, I'll go ballistic in a minute, but just recently, Hogan a quote from Hogan was, "I know that abortion is an emotional and important issue for women." I'm like, WTF? No, it's not an emotional issue. It is a life or death issue if you do not have access to reproductive freedom. Okay, so we're going for Mr. Hogan.
Yeah, let me tell one. I feel your passion, Dee. I have an issue that gets me about Hogan, and it goes back to right after Trump was elected and he announced his Muslim ban, and Hogan was asked how he felt about it. And he said, essentially, and I'm paraphrasing, that it really wasn't an issue in Maryland, and so he would weigh in. There are 75,000 Muslim residents of Maryland. He just tossed them overboard.
Right. Absolutely.
And the rest of us who cared about the bigger issue, about Trump trying to stop Muslims from immigrating to the United States. Hogan didn't care.
No.
He is a phony. He is an excellent politician. I absolutely agree, Gene. He really is. Seems like a, nice guy, sort of got that good guy persona. He's awful.
Yeah, He is awful. He's awful, and we just need the messaging. Yes, yes, Roger. You know, he's a product of DeMatha High School. He's a big private school guy, and yeah, enough.
He
All
also,
right.
he did wrong by the city of Baltimore every chance he could.
Oh yeah, we have no light rail in Baltimore because of Larry Hogan. Thank you so much. Climate change, anyone? I mean, you know. Okay, I got we've got a few more minutes. Is that a legacy hand, Suzanne? Because I need to go to Mike. Are you good, Suzanne? Okay, okay, Mike and Anthony.
I was gonna say some of the Hogan things you just brought up might be a good fodder for a few Amplify This
Oh yeah,
messages. So just put that into the mix of future things to
good
do.
point.
Thanks.
Good point. And actually, Barbara Lovitz and I have been like sharing, and the book club people and I have been sharing an email with a long list of anti-Hogan pieces of evidence. And and Barbara just sent me something recently on it to add to that. And Steve said he has a list too. So I'm thinking maybe an infographic or something would be nice. All right, guys. Well, it's 11:59. One last say yes, and he would not say if he supported. No, he would not say, and he laughed about it too. That's right, Rose. Anything else? This has been a terrific meeting. Well, I'll just say it just very quickly. Love to see you all on the call today. Thank you for your time. We're going to be putting the recording up in the YouTube channel and sending up follow-up. We do need your help on letter writing. So think about that. We do need, back in April, if you could maybe throw a few dollars to Indivisible Montgomery, not the Giving Circle is different, totally different. We'll be giving you more updates on the Giving Circle. That's going to open us up to a lot of possibilities now that we've chosen our state in Pennsylvania. So more on that to come. And don't worry, guys, we're here together. We will make it through. We will prevail. I feel very confident about that in November. I think we will. People are waking up and they're horrified. Okay.
Help us with Amplify This.
Yes.
You'll get
That's a
email.
good
Sign up and talk to your friends.
Yes, it's friends to friends. That's right. That's the power. Excellent. Okay, guys, I'm going to end the meeting. Yes, Fern, you're muted, Fern. Quickly. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Don't forget Giving Circles.
Yes.
There will be a URL, tiny URL in the newsletter coming up.
Perfect. All right, my team. Thank you. Have a great day and happy Easter to those who celebrate.